Hi, it's Tony from CassetteComeback.com. So a couple of weeks ago I did a video on the good old TDKD. So you guys seem to like that, so let's move on to one of its contemporaries. Another cassette that is a legend, another cassette that was there right until the end, another cassette which again was good from what I can see all the way through. We're talking about the Sony HF. Now this is a 1986 HF, and this is probably my favourite HF of the lot due to how it looks and how it records, but it's not the first HF. That will go with this one, the 1985 HF, and in this range Sony made a bit of a kick up about it being in a clear shell, even though clear shells had been around quite a bit before. But this advert here actually is something which stands out about it. Yeah, it's quite an advert that. You couldn't get away with one of them adverts like that nowadays, could you? But yeah, this is the 85 HF, and then we have the 86 HF. And then we moved on to the 88 HF, and this one to me very similar to this one, but the hubs have changed a bit. This is a bit of a rough example, but hey ho. And then we moved on to the 1990 HF. And then we had like the American version of the 1990 HF, which was this one. And then after this, it just sort of goes, well, a bit nuts. Because, we start doing things like this version of the HF. And then there was this version of the HF. And then there was this version of the HF. And then there was this version of the HF, and then there was this version of the HF, and then there was this version of the HF, and then we've got the hi-fi. So unlike the D, where it was pretty structured, they had a set D per range, and slight variations throughout the world, but mostly they were pretty structured. Look at all these, this is like, was around till about 1992, and these are all the different variations of the HF all the way through. So, there's quite a bit there, and I'm not going to bore everyone to death by going through them all, because it's sort of like, at least with the D, yeah, the D was made by TDK until the last version, which was when they were taken over by Imation. But these, well, there's a lot of differences and variations, and not all of these were made by Sony. I mean, some of these, I forget which one off the top of my head, but some of these look like a Max LUR, the late ones, which were made by Pangung. It sort of went a bit blah, so I'm not going to focus on these ones all that much. Now, like I said, the 86 one is my favourite, but I already did a video on these, so I'm not going to touch on these in this video. But if we just look at the back, clean and natural soundy reproduction, and the little frequency response graph and stuff, and yeah, the convenient SP mechanism too. So if we go to the very first HF, which is the 85 one, let's see, an extended dynamic range, improved technique, increases mode compared to CHF see-through cassette. And this is, like I say, this is the cassette which came before it, and I did a video of this, the CHF, which again was clear shelled but with a paper label. But yeah, it sort of just got more modern when it came to this one. So let's open this one up and have a good look at it. Even though they always stick, they just never want to slide out. So underneath that rough wrapper, we have it's a classic shell. It's basically, if we take the 86 I've already got here, from what I can see, it's very much the same shell on the same mouldings. Just this one is like a slightly bluer grayer. But other than that, they're very similar. I do like the orange rollers in this one. They're really good, but it's the same shell. But is it exactly the same tape? Let's have a spin and see what we got. Because if we look at the 85 tape on the top compared to the 86 at the bottom, the 85 tape is considerably lighter. Now, I know looking at the colour and the darkness of the tape doesn't in any way, shape or form signify performance. It just means that the formulations are different. That's all it is. And the formulation between 85 and 86 is quite different. Then we get to 88. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the back of this. Have a look on that. Let's have a see. Bias noise reduced by 0.5 dB compared to the original HF. Clearer recordings. Features the highly precision see-through shell. Again, new HF. I don't know what it's comparing it against. That's why I think most of these are just there for... You see, it doesn't mention it there, but here it seems to mention in the German that this is the SP2 mechanic, the SP2 shell, which is what they were saying was on the 86, which is the SP2 shell. So let's see if the shell is the same on this one. And indeed, if we look, yeah, all these three seem to be the same shell. Just cosmetic differences. The moulding's the same, it's just this one's got orange spools, this one's got red, different stickers, but they all seem to be essentially this SP2 shell. And let's just have a quick look at this one, see if this tape compares with any of the other two. Yeah, I mean the 86 and the 88, again, it could be the light. The 88, again, which is this one, looks slightly darker. So we've got 85, 86, 88. They're all just getting slightly darker. And then we come to the 1990 HF. Now, this again is a patented super performance now 2 mechanism. Ensures stable tape transport and uniform output level. You know, they're still going on about this. But here's the bit I like about this one. I think this is a really good looking cassette. I mean, this reminds me a lot of the That's RX in the way it looks. The original That's RX. These two, they look very similar to me. In fact, if I had an RX handy, which I didn't think about getting, I would show you, but the That's RX looks very similar. But again, if we look at this and take the 85, it's still the same shell. It's come from the same moulds. It's just the aesthetics have changed. You know, the rollers are different colours, the hubs are different, the printing's different, but all these generations essentially use the same shell. It's just aesthetics and changes in formulation. Let's have a look how the 1990 formulation compares to, say, the 88. Yeah, they look pretty identical colours to me. But so where do we go from here after going all this? So we've seen from when it starts in 85 through 86 to 88 through 90, it's very sticking to the same formula, and it doesn't have the big variances like sort of TDK did. But then we go to the end of line stuff. So if we look at, say, this one, which is, as far as I can tell, let's just check this. This is the made in Mexico one. High fidelity for music and voice. If we have a look at this one now. There's lots of variances, but we can see this has got cheaper. I mean, for a start, look at this. These look like SKC hubs, but they're not. I always used to think 3 holes were SKC, but there are variants where, you know, BASF MTech used 3-hole hubs like this. But this, if you compare it to, say, this one, very different. This is a nice textured, heavy shell, screwed. This one isn't. This one's a pretty lightweight shell. It's not screwed anymore. It's just welded. It doesn't seem to have the Sony hubs anymore. You know, the quality was going down at this point. And then let's just randomly take one. Let's take, oh, I don't know. Let's see if I can see some with any sort of variances behind these wrappers. That looks like a genuine Sony one. Can you see? It's still got the Sony spoke hubs in, so that looks like it was a genuine Sony one. These ones again, that one, that's a genuine Sony one. We can see the holes in there. This one, I think this is probably the last of the line one. We can't see anything on that one. Let's have a see what it says. Assembled in Mexico. Okay, that's a Mexico assembled one. Let's see what else we've got. This one. This one. This is a strange one. Where's this? This is made in Mexico, but I don't know if you can see this down the side. We'll just double check. Well, let's just open it. Yeah, this one again, yeah. Different wrapper, but it's essentially the same tape as this one in a different wrapper. This one, Japan, USA components made in Mexico. So, yeah, so the HF did change and eventually got outsourced. So what we're going to do, let's not bore ourselves to death. I'm going to do some more graphing, but I'm not going to take you through the process live. I'm just going to graph these now and show you the picture and talk through it. So, like the D before it, I've done a frequency sweep. This is slightly different from the D1 because one, as you can see here, I've relented and I've tried to record it around about the -25 dB, which everyone seems to say is the right level to do this. So I've tried my best. I mean, when you get into this sort of low level, you try the best you can. I mean, this is the baseline of the deck, which is basically going straight through the deck without any tape in the way, and it's around 24.6, -24.6. The deck I've used in this case is a Revox B215, and all the cassettes auto-calibrated correctly. So what do we draw from this? Well, if we look at the bottom, they all seem to follow the same pattern. They come up and they go over, and in the mids is where they're nearest to the baseline, and then we have varying degrees of them dropping off towards the end. Now, the 85, this grey line here, this is the right channel of the 85. That seems to drop off the quickest there, and it's the sort of green one, which is this one here, is the left channel of the 85. So we've got quite a bit of disparity there. It could be the decks maybe a little bit out. Whoops. Let's go back again. It could be the decks a little bit out, but that's the biggest drop. But you know, if we look at the 90, which is this lime green and orange, they're staying pretty much together, and through the mids, you know, they're pretty good. The nearest, I would imagine, through there, but they also drop pretty quick down here. And the surprise is, if we look at the sort of magenta here and the blue, this is the last of the line, which I don't think was made by Sony, but it's pretty consistent all the way through. I mean, I won't profess to think these graphs really show us much. I mean, it looks like we've got a massive gap here between the left and right channels of the 85, but if we look at it, it's like 0.5 of a decibel between them, which is not something when you crank it up to a decent amount you're going to actually hear, because as I understand it, decibels are multiples of the last one, so to go from -25 all the way up, it's a massive difference. So there's not that much in it. They all seem to respond the same sort of way, and none of these I'd say is particularly bad. Now this next one, just out of interest, I took the baseline of the deck out and replaced it with a Chinese modern cassette. In fact, it's one of them Bush, which you can get in Argos. And if we look at that now, if we look how that performs, in the low frequencies, it's not too bad. But as we get up here, as you can see, in the mids round here, it's tailing off more than the Sony's. It's getting down to the bottom quicker. I mean, it doesn't ever sink as low as the 85 HF does at this level, but maybe it's age, I don't know. But on the whole, the Chinese one doesn't look as good in the mids, which is what we actually hear. And then, again, it goes off this cliff at the end. Like I say, I want to make this clear that I have never, and you can check all my videos, I have never professed to being an expert in this. Never. I'm just someone that loves cassettes, and I'm all about the joy of cassettes, the intangibles, the aesthetics, the nostalgia. The technical stuff I've never claimed to be an expert, ever, and I don't. So have a look at this, see if you think this is a better way of looking at these. Tell me if you think these are worthwhile looking at, because I still think, yeah, so what, as long as they sound good, who cares what these little tiny less than a decibel differences are at the lower end. That's just me, but you guys seem to like them, so I've done them again. But now let's go and actually put some music on the cassettes and listen to how good they really are, which is what really matters. So I've been using the Revox for the testing, so we might as well use it for the recording. So the 85 is in there, it's all biased up. I'm going to record these at what I would normally record a ferry cat, you know, peaking maybe +2 with the odd +4, around that sort of level. I'm not going to push them too hard, but they sound good enough as it is. So this one is a tune from the YouTube audio library, and it's called Sunstroke. Not bad for a 35-year-old entry-level cassette. I mean, just seeing it in there going round just reminds me of that Casio player app, because this is such an iconic looking cassette that even now still sounds really good. And these are very collectible now. You never see these cheap anymore, but yeah, what a good way to start a range off. So let's now move to the 1990 with the pure Gamma. Now I found that's, look, you see, I know that's technically came from before it, and like I think these are about 87-ish, but you can see that, you know, the styling ethics there, the white and the red and where it's positioned, they're not identical, but you can see the school of thought on Sony on this one. You know, the that's came first, but anyway, let's bias this one up. I think these look superb, these 1991s, and like I say, on that graph they perform pretty well. They perform better than the 85, so let's see if they perform best in here. I think it's, you know, the little touches like the red guide rollers at the bottom and the, you know, classic completely spoked Sony hubs that make it, but right, this one is another tune from the YouTube audio library, and it's called Arpeggi-Synth. Strange, isn't it? How times change. Right now, if we want a brand new 90, we're paying, what is the ATR's currently running at, about $6. There was a time when cassettes that looked this good, had shells this good, and tape this good, could be bought in 10 packs for a tenth of that price. Yeah, this is, personally, I know I said the 86 is my all-round favourite HF, but that's got a lot of nostalgia in it, because I've got to be honest, around the time this was out in the 90s, I was usually mostly Max LURs because I didn't see a lot of these. But I've got to say, I think this is possibly the best performing HF of the lot, and it's also, I think, really, really good looking from a time when entry level was this good. So now, let us go to the last of the line, which looks like it could well be MTech BASF this. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, did Sony ever really put the name on rubbish? Not that I know of, but let's see. This seemed to fare pretty good in the graphing challenge. So is it going to fare so well when it comes to actual music? And this one is going to be another tune from the YouTube audio library called Computer Bounce. Computer Bounce, sounds fun. Chances are this has probably got the same tape in it as the late M-Tech BASF Ferro Extra, and yeah, it sounded good, didn't it? I mean, considering it was the last of the line, it's got the cheapest shell that's welded. The tape, if we look at the 1990 in comparison, the 1990 tape is nice and dark. This one is a lot lighter. I'm trying to get the focus on these and not on the tape deck, but as you can see, the tape is a lot lighter in the last one. In fact, if we put it next to the 85, it's a lot lighter than the 85 as well. It's the most ferric-y of the lot. So there was hiss there, but that's not a bad thing. This still performed really well.
The truth.
So the Sony HF, Sony's regular entry-level Type 1, not counting, you know, the FXs and EFs and all the other ones. The regular mainstay of Sony's range from 85 until they stopped making cassettes. All of them, be it ones that Sony made themselves or ones that Sony put their name on and other people made, all of them universally are very good cassettes. A lot of them, especially these two, have become iconic. Their style, their looks, because they were used by so many, they've just become part of people's lives. I mean, this one I said in the video when I did this one I remember being in Italy when I was younger in Naples, and all the knockoff tapes were these. These had all the knockoff albums on that you used to buy in the market in Naples. They always came on these, and that's why this is so nostalgic to me, but it still performs. They all do. In fact, while I was away from this video, I actually found this, the 1992 version. I forgot I had this, and again, this is the SP2 shell. So until the mid-90s, they all had one shell, all the way from 85 until 92, which cannot be said for the contemporaries. And here's the thing, in this day and age, if you look at HFs and compare them to URs and D when it comes to pricing, the HFs are generally more expensive. It'll cost you more to get an 88 HF than it will to get an 88D. There seems to be more 88Ds. Again, it'll cost you more to get a 90s HF than it will to get a 90D. And certainly these are getting rare and expensive. The Ds are as well, and well, the early Maxell URs from 85 are, but on the whole the HF seems to carry a bit of a premium over the D. Why is that? Well, maybe because Sony are still knocking around now, making hi-fis and phones and other things that young people see, whereas TDK, Maxell are possibly just seen as companies that make cheap headphones and batteries now and semiconductors, whereas Sony still has a bit of cachet. They own film companies, they own music labels. Maybe that's why there's a premium. But either way, I can honestly say I've never had a bad HF all the way to the end. In fact, I can honestly say I don't remember Sony making a bad cassette or putting their name on a bad cassette. Time might have worn some out. Maybe some of you have had bad luck with them. But me personally, I think Sony is possibly the most rock solid of all cassette brands. And their entry-level HF here is just a legendary cassette that still looks good, still sounds great, and are well worth having if you can get them. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Stay safe out there. It's getting weary now, isn't it? It's getting a bit weary. I know I'm dating this video by saying that, but what the hell. It's getting a bit weary, but keep your chins up. Just remember that at the end of this, we've got something to look forward to. Normality, enjoying ourselves. It'll come. We're not going to be locked in forever. So stay safe. Be with people that you love. Talk to people more. Get on the video conference. Get on the web chat. Talk to people you haven't talked to for a long time. You know what I mean? That you never get a chance to meet up with. Now is the chance to do it. So we all need to keep our sanity. And I'm going to do that by trying to do some more videos for you. So please like and subscribe. Until next time, happy taping. Bye bye.